Welcome to another day in Tel Aviv, the capital of Israel. Today, we will take a stroll through the streets and visit some of the most popular beaches in the city. Walk with us to experience Tel Aviv neighborhoods with its people and traditions. The city of Tel Aviv was founded in 1909 to the immediate north of the walled port city of Jaffa, on the hills along the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea. During the era of British rule in Palestine, 1917 to 1948, it developed into a thriving urban center, becoming Israel's foremost economic and metropolitan nucleus. Tel Aviv consists of three separate zones: the central White City, Lev Hair, and Rothschild Avenue, and the Bialik area. The White City of Tel Aviv can be seen as an outstanding example in a large scale of the innovative town planning ideas of the first part of the 20th century. The architecture is a representation of some of the most significant trends of modern architecture, as it developed in Europe. The White City is also an outstanding example of the implementation of these trends, taking into account local cultural traditions and climatic conditions. The White City is a collection of over 4,000 buildings in Tel Aviv from the 1930s, built in a unique form of the international style, commonly known as Bauhaus, by Jewish architects who fled to the British Mandate of Palestine from Germany after the rise to power of the Nazis. A number of factors have contributed to turning Tel Aviv into a center of creativity. Among them, the city's open attitude, as well as its physical layout, enjoyable surroundings, and civic support mechanisms and policies. The city's technology ecosystem generates many technology-focused events, conferences, competitions, and other media arts gatherings every year. These events provide platforms for exchanging ideas, networking, and collaboration. In turn, the startup ecosystem attracts ever more talent and creative energy, pulling in investors, companies, and capital from Israel and abroad. Young, creative entrepreneurs, particularly from the field of digital innovation, students and artists are drawn to the city for the commercial, educational, and cultural opportunities it offers, as well as for the opportunity to be surrounded by fellow members of the creative sector. As we walk to the streets of Tel Aviv neighborhoods, we come across shops, restaurants, and cafes, showing us the daily lives of its citizens. Open markets are found everywhere. Slowly but surely, we are pushed into the city culture that is unique and at the same time, fascinating. For a country located in the Middle East, we can't help but wonder about the similarities of their culture with the West. The markets here provide visitors with a chance to experience the colors, atmosphere, and delicious foods this amazing city has to offer. Markets, known as souks, have been an intrinsic part of Middle Eastern culture for centuries. They have not only been providing residents with fresh, seasonal produce, but they have also been a place to interact with different communities and cultures. Nearly every major city in Israel has a central souk, with the largest and most famous being Machne Yehuda in Jerusalem and Shuk HaCarmel, Carmel Market, in Tel Aviv. Most are open daily from Sunday to Friday. Cookbooks are inspired by it, as is the healthy Israeli lifestyle. Fresh fruits and vegetables make up the base of a colorful diet, and lugging home kilos of said vegetables provides daily exercise. The traditional produce stands have been joined by restaurants, cafes and bars, so the shuk has also become a meeting ground for friends, and a center of culinary evolution from which Israeli cuisine continues to expand. When 4 Israeli cyclists suggested to the Tel Aviv City Council in 1994 that it might be a clever idea to promote the bicycle as a new mode of transport, they were met with laughter. They were told that cycling was something for third world nations, said Yotam Avizohar, director of the Israel Bicycle Association. The council official said, "Tel Aviv is a modern city. We only promote sophisticated transport solutions. Very soon we will have a light rail system." Undeterred, the cyclists gave it another try and approached a council official who they knew to be a cyclist himself. This time, they were told that cycling was something for European countries. The man said, "Israel is a Middle Eastern country and Israelis are addicted to their cars or to their camels." He didn't see how it could ever be changed. More than 20 years later, the realization of the Tel Aviv light rail system is still a very long way off. But cycling has definitely become the new mode of transport in the city. Everywhere you go in Tel Aviv, you see people on bikes, and most of them aren't wearing any special gear. In Israel's hippest city, cycling is the hippest way to get around. According to city council statistics, about 15% of the inhabitants of central Tel Aviv cycle to work or school. There are many miles of bike lanes, including a breathtaking track along the seafront that connects the northern part of town with the ancient harbor of Jaffa in the south. 5 years ago, a successful bike-sharing system was launched, which caused bike use to go up by 54% among Tel Avivians. And every year in October the city hosts a huge bicycle event, closing the Ayalon Highway and the big boulevards to cars to make way for 30,000 cyclists. Some of the Tel Aviv cycle lanes consist of not much more than a painted logo on the pavement. Most cycle lanes simply break off at junctions and it's not always easy to find out where they continue, if they continue at all. And it's not unusual to encounter a bus stop or a lottery stand in the middle of your cycle lane. Cycling through Tel Aviv's chaotic streets requires resourcefulness and a talent for improvisation. It's a constant juggling act to avoid pedestrians, objects that are blocking the way and motorists, some of whom are clearly not aware that bikes are a legal mode of transport. In many streets, cyclists and pedestrians share the pavement, not only because cycle paths are often part of it, but also because the road is considered simply too dangerous for cyclists. Shared pavements combined with robust Israeli street etiquette have resulted in growing friction between pedestrians and cyclists. The buses in Tel Aviv follow an efficient network of routes, with many stations scattered throughout the city. Israel's public transport has come on leaps and bounds over the last few decades, with the introduction of new train lines, bus routes, and even rentable bikes and scooters across various cities, making this compact, yet diverse country more and more accessible. Israel's modern and ever-growing transportation network navigates visitors across most parts of the country, without much hassle, and intercity travel, such as with Jerusalem and Tel Aviv public transportation, has never been more swift. Running on an extensive network system throughout the country, Israel's public buses connect riders to over 1,000 routes, spanning short and long distances. Google Maps and the Move It app will keep you on track with transit routes. As for payment? Grab yourself a Rav-Kav card and tap for payment on board, which is available to purchase at tourist information centers. This card is used for electronic ticketing on many Israeli public transportation options and can be preloaded in convenience stores, loading stations across cities, and even directly via the Rav-Kav app. The cost per ride will vary depending on your destination. Tel Aviv is famous for its wide variety of world-class restaurants, offering traditional Israeli dishes as well as international fare. More than 100 sushi restaurants, the third highest concentration in the world, do business in the city. In Tel Aviv there are some dessert specialties. The most known is the halva ice cream, traditionally topped with date syrup and pistachios. Israeli cuisine comprises both local dishes and dishes brought to Israel by Jews from the diaspora. Since before the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, and particularly since the late 1970s, an Israeli Jewish fusion cuisine has developed. Israeli cuisine has adopted, and continues to adapt, elements of various styles of Arab cuisine and diaspora Jewish cuisine, particularly the Mizrahi, Sephardic, and Ashkenazi styles of cooking. It incorporates many foods traditionally included in other Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines, so that spices like za'atar and foods such as falafel, hummus, shaba, shakshuka, and couscous are now widely popular in Israel. Other influences on the cuisine are the availability of foods common to the Mediterranean region, especially certain kinds of fruits and vegetables, dairy products and fish. The tradition of keeping kosher, and food customs and traditions specific to Shabbat and different Jewish holidays, such as Challah, Jachnun, Malawak, gefilte fish, Hamin, Mi'rev Yerushalmi, and Sufganiot. New dishes based on agricultural products such as oranges, avocados, dairy products and fish, and others based on world trends have been introduced over the years, and chefs trained abroad have brought in elements of other international cuisines. Israel's culinary traditions comprise foods and cooking methods that span 3,000 years of history. Over that time, these traditions have been shaped by influences from Asia, Africa, and Europe, and religious and ethnic influences have resulted in a culinary melting pot. Biblical and archaeological records provide insight into the culinary life of the region as far back as 1,000 years BCE, in the days of the kings of ancient Israel. food of the ancient Israelites was based on several products that still play important roles in modern Israeli cuisine. These were known as the 7 species: olives, figs, dates, pomegranates, wheat, barley, and grapes. The diet, based on locally grown produce, was enhanced by imported spices, readily available due to the country's position at the crossroads of east-west trade routes. After the destruction of the Second Temple and the exile of the majority of Jews from the land of Israel, Jewish cuisine continued to develop in the many countries where Jewish communities have existed since late antiquity, influenced by the economics, agriculture, and culinary traditions of those countries. The State of Israel faced enormous military and economic challenges in its early years, and the period from 1948 to 1958 was a time of food rationing. In this decade, over 1 million Jewish immigrants, mainly from Arab countries, but also including European Holocaust survivors, inundated the new state. They arrived when only basic foods were available and ethnic dishes had to be modified with a range of mock or simulated foods, such as chopped liver from eggplant. These adaptations remain as a legacy of that time. Substitutes, such as the wheat-based rice substitute, tidam, were introduced, and versatile vegetables such as eggplant were used as alternatives to meat. Additional flavor and nutrition was provided from inexpensive canned tomato paste and puree, hummus, tahina, and mayonnaise in tubes. Meat was scarce, and it was not until the late 1950s that herds of beef cattle were introduced into the agricultural economy. Immigrants to Israel have introduced elements of the cuisines of the cultures and countries from whence they came. In the nearly 50 years before 1948, there were successive waves of Jewish immigration, which brought a whole range of foods and cooking styles. Immigrants arriving from Central Europe brought foods such as schnitzel and strudels, while Russian Jews brought borscht and herring dishes, such as schmaltz herring. Israel does not have a universally recognized national dish. In previous years this was considered to be falafel, deep-fried balls of seasoned, ground chickpeas. Street vendors throughout Israel used to sell falafel. It was a favorite street food for decades, and is still popular as a dish or as a top-up for hummus and pita. The Israeli breakfast has always been largely healthy, by today's standards, and one book called The Israeli Breakfast: The Jewish State's Contribution to World Cuisine. Tourism in Israel is one of Israel's major sources of income, with a record 4.55 million tourist arrivals in 2019, and, in 2017, contributed $20 billion to the Israeli economy, making it an all-time record. Israel offers a plethora of historical and religious sites, beach resorts, natural sites, archaeological tourism, heritage tourism, adventure tourism, and ecotourism. Israel has the highest number of museums per capita in the world. In 2017, the most popular paid tourist attraction is Masada. The most visited city was Jerusalem, and the most visited site was the Western Wall. The largest percentage of tourists came from the United States, accounting for 19% of all tourists, followed by Russia, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, China, Italy, Poland, and Canada. Religious tourism is very popular in Israel and in the West Bank. As of 2007, the two most visited Jewish religious sites were the Western Wall and the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The most visited Christian holy sites are the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, the Church of the Nativity in the West Bank town of Bethlehem, and the Basilica of the Annunciation in Nazareth, Israel. The most visited Islamic religious places are the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and the Ibrahimi Mosque at the Tomb of the Patriarchs in the West Bank town of Hebron. Tel Aviv is the most populous city in the Gush Dan metropolitan area of Israel. Located on the Israeli Mediterranean coastline and with a population of 460,613, it is the economic and technological center of the country. If East Jerusalem is considered part of Israel, Tel Aviv is the country's second most populous city after Jerusalem. If not, Tel Aviv is the most populous city ahead of West Jerusalem. Tel Aviv is divided into 9 districts that have formed naturally over the city's short history. The oldest of these is Jaffa, the ancient port city out of which Tel Aviv grew. This area is traditionally made up demographically of a greater percentage of Arabs, but recent gentrification is replacing them with a young professional and artist population. Similar processes are occurring in nearby Neve Tzedek, the original Jewish neighborhood outside of Jaffa. Ramat Aviv, a district in the northern part of the city that is largely made up of luxury apartments and includes Tel Aviv University, is currently undergoing extensive expansion and is set to absorb the beachfront property of Stav Airport after its decommissioning. Moreover, in the past few years, Rothschild Boulevard, which is located in Neve Tzedek, has become an attraction for tourists, businesses and startups. It features a wide, tree-lined central strip with pedestrian and bike lanes. Historically, there was a demographic split between the Ashkenazi northern side of the city, including the district of Ramat Aviv, and the southern, more Sephardi and Mizrahi neighborhoods including Neve Tzedek and Florentine. Since the 1980s, major restoration and gentrification projects have been implemented in southern Tel Aviv. Baruch Yaskovitz, city planner for Tel Aviv beginning in 2001, reworked old British plans for the Florentine neighborhood from the 1920s, adding green areas, pedestrian malls, and housing. The municipality invested 2 million shekels in the project. The goal was to make Florentine the Soho of Tel Aviv, and attract artists and young professionals to the neighborhood. Indeed, street artists, such as Didi, installation artists such as Sigulit Landau, and many others made the upbeat neighborhood their home base. Florentine is now known as a hip, cool place to be in Tel Aviv with coffeehouses, markets, bars, galleries and parties. As you can see, Tel Aviv is a dog-friendly city. They hold one of the biggest dog festivals in the world. At Tel Aviv's Dog Festival, hundreds of pampered pooches take over Yehoshua Park. The event holds a wide selection of dog businesses, bakeries for dogs, and even physical therapists. Like with any human festival, you can find artists drawing dog caricatures or carpenters selling dog beds. Of course, dog food, such special tuna treats are common. Hundreds of dogs and their owners make their presence at every festival. Tel Aviv has over 70 dog gardens around the city. There are birthday parties for dogs, massage therapy sessions, all happening at the same time during the time of the festival. It's not every day you see a dog getting a massage. But in this Israeli city, somehow it seems expected. As dog wandered among vendors selling products and services for them, a DJ kept tails wagging with pop hits. Leashed dogs sample organic gluten-free kibble, try on boutique collars and leashes and bespoke dog tags and local dog-themed art. Orange Tel Aviv branded dog bowls are regularly refreshed with bottled water. Dog owners get to mingle and fork over the necessary shekels, seemingly unfazed by their reduced role in the whole affair. After all, Tel Aviv is a dog city. The reasons for that are both global and local. The city estimated it is home to 30,000 dogs, along with 413,000 people. Ahead of its dog festival, called Tel Aviv declared itself the friendliest world city for dogs, with the most dogs per capita. New York City put the number of dogs in town at 600,000, with a population of 8.6 million humans, about the same ratio as in Tel Aviv, but who's counting? What makes Tel Aviv unique is less numbers than attitude. Dogs crowd the streets of Tel Aviv, encouraged by its year-round sunshine and walkability. They're allowed in most cafes, stores and even high-end restaurants, as well as on city buses and trains and in taxi vans. The regular parks and legally dog-free beaches have their fair share of dogs, too, many of them off-leash regardless of regulations. As we walk through the streets of Tel Aviv, we are approaching the beach promenade, one of the city's most popular attractions for tourists and locals alike. Tel Aviv Yafo boasts a long promenade, running alongside the seashore that makes up its western edge. People walk, jog, ride bikes, or sit on benches and fill their lungs with fresh air, all while being surrounded by a glorious 8.7-mile stretch of open views, blue horizons, and white sails bobbing on the waves. Dozens of restaurants, cafes, and ice cream parlors are busy all day long, while pubs, discos and jazz clubs blossom after dark. Right off the promenade you'll find clean sand, lounge chairs, ice cream vendors, and die-hard beach lovers that swim daily, winter and summer, no matter what. Each of Tel Aviv's 13 beautiful beaches enjoys unique characteristics and offers a variety of services, including lifeguard stations, kiosks, restaurants, children's playgrounds, outdoors gyms, and more. Gordon Beach is great for beach volleyball. The religiously observant will find gender-specific swimming at Hof Hadeshaim, just south of the Tel Aviv port. Women and girls bathe Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday, while men and boys are allowed in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Members of both genders are allowed on Saturday. The gay-lesbian community tends to gravitate to the stretch near the Hilton, which has earned the unofficial title of the city's most gay-friendly beach. The narrow strip of sand near the marina is less crowded and more peaceful than the other beaches. At the yacht basin, you can rent windsurfers, surfboards, sailboats, motorboats, and diving equipment. Surfing is popular at Hilton Beach, where a special light system was recently installed to allow for night surfing. Kite surfing is popular at Aviv Beach. To windsurf, go to Delphinarium Beach. The city's beaches are well equipped with changing rooms, showers, and toilets. Lifeguard services are available during seasonal timing, May to October, and tourist police officers are present to provide security, assistance, and information services. 8,500,000 bathers enjoy the beaches yearly. The official bathing season is May to October. There are 13 beaches along Tel Aviv-Yafo's coastline. 4 beaches are accessible to people with disabilities. The Tel Aviv-Yafo beaches rank highly in tests run by the Israeli Ministry of the Environment and are considered to be very clean. An Israeli version of racquetball, called makat, is a favorite sport played along the shorelines. Watch your head. Watermelon with feta cheese is a very popular beach snack. Artikim, or popsicles, are also well liked, with the banana chocolate flavor ranking at the top of most people's list. Bathers must comply with the lifeguard and rescue guards. Bathing is prohibited when there is no lifeguard on duty. Sea bathing is prohibited when the black flag is raised. No motorsports, jet skis, boats, are allowed. Motorized vehicles are forbidden on beaches and boardwalk. Building a fire is prohibited on beaches. As we continue our walk through the beach promenade in Tel Aviv, feel free to subscribe to our channel and hit like if you are enjoying our video. We hope to continue bringing you narrated walking videos from cities around the world. These concrete benches along the beach are perfect for people watch and, of course, waiting for the sun to set. The most popular sports in Israel have traditionally been association football, mainly, and basketball, secondly, with football being considered the national sport, in both of which Israeli professional teams have been competitive internationally. Israel is an international center for Jewish sport around the world, and since 1932 the Maccabiah Games, an Olympic-style event for Jewish athletes, is held in the country. Despite Israel's location in the Asian continent, the Israeli sports associations in various sports belong to the European associations due to the refusal of many Arab Asian countries to compete with Israeli athletes. The government support and budgeting of sports in Israel is relatively low in comparison to other Western countries. However, many Israeli athletes and teams manage to gain international success. The Israeli national basketball team has won 2 gold medals in the Asian Games and 1 silver medal at the European Championship, and basketball club Maccabi Tel Aviv is considered one of the best teams in Europe with 6 European titles. The Israeli national football team has won the AFC Asian Cup, and the Israel Davis Cup team reached the semi-final of the 2009 Davis Cup. At the Olympic Games, Israel has won 13 medals.